The quarantine sirens howled through the docking bay of the Yelvathian cruiser just as Owen Beck stepped off the decontamination ramp, swaying slightly on his feet and clutching his stomach. What the hell is that sound? Owen asked, blinking against the harsh, pulsing blue lights that had begun flashing overhead. The Yelvathian liaison, a pale-skinned creature named Saru with lanky limbs and a gelatinous sheen to its skin, recoiled from Owen as though he were on fire. Saru's eyes' narrow vertical slits that rarely widened suddenly bulged to the size of saucers. "You're leaking," Saru said, backing away rapidly. "You're emitting fluid from your nasal cavity, and by the great galaxy your body temperature is elevated." "It's a cold," Owen muttered. "Just a cold. You've got a whole siren system for a sneeze?" Saru shouted something in its native tongue, and within seconds 2 armored guards stormed into the bay. One of them aimed a bioscanner at Owen while the other raised a containment shield around him, trapping him in a glowing hexagonal dome. "This is absurd," Owen said, sitting down slowly inside the shield. "I just need some rest." "Maybe some soup." Saru's voice trembled. "You're infected with a Category 7 Earth virus. We were warned about this. It's the one that liquefies internal organs in less than 3 rotations." Owen raised an eyebrow. "Liquefies what now?" "It's called rhinovirus," Saru hissed, as if speaking the name might summon death itself. "That's just the common cold," Owen said, coughing into his elbow. "I didn't even take anything for it. Figured I'd just sleep it off." The guards flinched at the sound of his cough. One of them activated a misting system that sprayed the entire chamber with a lavender-colored vapor. "I get it," Owen said, waving a hand. "Scared of germs?" "Sure. But I'm not contagious anymore, I swear. Give me 1 day and I'll be fine." Saru's translucent skin flushed deep purple. "No lifeform recovers from a Category 7 in a single planetary cycle. Not even the Kararvak, and they digest molten rock." Owen leaned back against the wall of the containment field and closed his eyes. "You think that's bad? You should see us after a night of jalapeno tequila shots." "This is nothing." The guards exchanged glances. One of them whispered something to Saru, who nodded gravely and tapped a device on his wrist. A robotic medical drone descended from the ceiling, scanning Owen's vitals while projecting the results in midair. The data made no sense to the aliens: elevated white blood cell count, low-grade fever, sinus congestion, fatigue, yet the human appeared stable. "He should be melting," Saru whispered. "Why isn't he melting?" "I don't melt," Owen said. "I still closed. I run a fever, get cranky, sleep too long, then I'm back to normal. It's kind of our thing." Saru looked horrified. "You're adapting? While inside the containment?" "Yeah, that's what sleep is for," Owen said. "It's basically healing on autopilot." Saru turned to the guards. "We must alert the council. This species is more dangerous than we were led to believe." Owen sighed and pulled his jacket over his head. "Wake me up when you're done panicking." By the time he woke again, the lights had dimmed and a team of Yelvathian med-scribes was surrounding the containment field, scribbling notes and murmuring. One of them leaned in and tapped the field. "Subject Owen," the scribe said cautiously, "are you deteriorating yet?" Owen sat up, stretched, and yawned. "Actually, I feel way better. Still a little sore in the throat, but no more headache." "You got any oatmeal?" The scribes gasped. One of them fainted. "Your immune system destroyed the virus overnight?" Saru asked, his voice barely audible. "That's how it works," Owen said, standing up and rotating his shoulders. "Just needed a nap and some fluids. I told you guys." The scribe who had fainted was now being fanned with a small fan by one of the guards. "This is impossible," Saru breathed. "You showed all symptoms of a Category 7. The projections said you'd be dead within hours." "Well, your projections need work," Owen said. "I didn't even take medication. Just rested." "You didn't even administer antiviral agents? No bio-reconstruction?" "Nope," Owen said. "I drank some water, slept for like 13 hours, and now I'm good." The guards turned slowly toward Saru. "Shall we drop the containment?" Saru hesitated. "What if he relapses?" "I won't," Owen said. You think I'd risk getting sick again with that soup you guys serve? Saru studied him. You're telling me this is a normal occurrence for your kind? Pretty normal, Owen said. Colds, flu, stomach bugs, we get them, deal with them, move on. It's part of being alive. And you're not engineered for this? Nope. Saru looked at the others. We must report this to the Galactic Medical Assembly. The guards powered down the containment field. Owen stepped out, stretching his arms. You guys really thought I was dying? Saru's skin shifted from purple to a pale yellow, the Yelvathian equivalent of embarrassment. We considered evacuating the cruiser. Owen blinked. You were gonna abandon ship over a cold? We believed it was a planetary-scale extinction agent. It shares a classification with the Zarn plague. Yikes, Owen muttered. Remind me to never get sick in front of you guys again. Later, in the cruiser's med bay, Owen was offered a seat while Saru and the scribes reviewed footage of his miraculous recovery. They replayed it frame by frame, examining his sleep posture, hydration levels, and even his breathing patterns. Do all humans recover this way? Saru asked. Most of us, yeah, Owen replied. We've had this virus for millennia. It's like an annoying roommate. You hate it, but you learn to live with it. Saru nodded slowly. That is disturbingly resilient. Hey, you should see us after food poisoning from gas station sushi. Now that's impressive. Saru didn't laugh. You willingly consume suspicious biological matter? Sometimes it's the only thing open after midnight. The scribes murmured in disbelief. Saru motioned to the guards. Prepare a full cultural report on human immune tolerance. We must reconsider our classification of their biology. Let me guess, Owen said, grinning, we're going from fragile primitives to biological anomalies? Something like that, Saru said. You may have just rewritten our entire understanding of viral resistance. Cool, Owen said. Now, where's that oatmeal? Later that day, the Council of Medical Ethics aboard the cruiser held an emergency meeting. Owen was invited more as a specimen than a participant and sat at the table sipping something that vaguely resembled tea. You recovered in 24 hours from a virus we consider lethal, a counselor stated. Do you comprehend the implications? I mean, not really, Owen said. It was just a cold. You didn't undergo genetic modulation? Nope. Then your species must possess adaptive mechanisms beyond our models. Or, Owen said, maybe we just learn to live with being sick now and then. The counselors fell into a hushed debate. One of them turned to Owen. Would you consent to a non-invasive study of your immune system? Define non-invasive. No needles. No cutting. Just observation. Maybe a breath test. Owen shrugged. Sure. Long as you feed me. 2 days later, Owen's vitals were on display across half a dozen Yelvathian research stations. Scientists watched in silent awe as the virus they had labeled as catastrophic was shown to trigger a mild immune response, then fade without intervention. One researcher whispered, "Their biology is chaos, and it works." You think that's wild, Owen said to Saru during a follow-up scan. Wait till you see what happens when we get food allergies. Saru looked horrified. You consume materials that can kill you? Sometimes by accident. Sometimes because the cheesecake is worth it. Saru shook his head. Your species is an enigma. We're just stubborn, Owen said. And hungry. By the end of the week, the incident was logged as Biological Event 472A, Human Resistance to Category 7 Earth Virus. The galactic classification of the virus was downgraded from extinction class pathogen to mildly annoying organic nuisance. Saru personally escorted Owen back to the Earth shuttle. You have altered our understanding of resilience, Saru said. Owen buckled in and grinned. And all I did was take a nap. Saru nodded solemnly. We are both terrified and impressed. Good, Owen said. That's kind of our brand. For days after Owen's unexpected recovery, he was still under voluntary observational extension. which basically meant he wasn't allowed to leave until the Yelvathians figured out whether he was a walking biohazard or the missing link in their immunology models. He was given quarters on Deck 7 near the hydroponics wing, where the air was slightly more humid and carried a faint scent of minty algae. Owen was currently lying belly down on a cot covered in a slightly sticky sheet. Yelvathian fabric hadn't adapted well to human skin oils and attempting to scratch behind his ear with a metal stylus when a new alien entered the room. This one was shorter than the others, with a long flat head and soft, twitching antennae that looked like wilted celery stalks. It wore a glossy blue coat and carried a hovering orb that blinked in a pattern Owen couldn't decode. "You're the immune anomaly," the alien said without preamble. Owen sat up, pushing the stylus onto the table. "Depends who's asking. I'm Dr. Virulin. I specialize in cross-species immunodynamics. You're my 9th human subject, but the first to show spontaneous pathogen resolution without chemical or nanosurgical support." 9th? Owen blinked, rubbing his temple. "Wait, you've studied humans before?" 8 volunteers from the Terran Diplomatic Exchange. None of them survived exposure to native Yelvathian flora. "Well, that's cheerful." Virulin leaned closer. "You, however, recovered from a Category 7 Earth virus with no immunocapsule, no enzyme therapy, not even a metabolic dampener." Owen leaned back against the wall. "I drank some water, slept for a day, and had a mild headache. Not exactly thrilling." "Incorrect," Virulin said. "It's unprecedented. We've run over 70,000 simulations. None of them predicted this outcome." The orb beside Virulin emitted a soft hum and projected a rotating image of Owen's white blood cells attacking viral particles in near real time. "We've never seen leukocyte activity this coordinated in a non-modified organism," Virulin said. "They form clusters, communicate chemically, and redirect energy flow through the lymphatic system. It's a decentralized response mechanism. No command center. Just distributed adaptation." "Cool," Owen said. "I call that feeling like crap for a few hours." Virulin tapped a node on the orb, and a new image appeared, this one of a Yelvathian immune response. It was slower, more centralized, and relied on a neural override signal to initiate countermeasures. "Our bodies require conscious activation of defense protocols. Yours functions autonomously. We thought that was inefficient." "It is," Owen said. "Nobody likes being sick, but the speed at which your system recalibrated. It rewrote its own response map." "That's kind of our thing," Owen said. "Trial and error. Heavy on the error." Virulin tilted its head. "You're not alarmed by this?" "Not unless I start glowing or develop extra toes." The orb beeped again. Virulin frowned. At least, Owen thought it was a frown. It was hard to tell with a face shaped like a spatula. "We detected a spike in your cortisol levels during recovery. Your body flooded itself with stress hormones, which somehow accelerated immune mobilization." "Well, yeah," Owen said. "Stress response kicks in when you're feeling awful. Helps wake the system up. It's like panic, but useful." Virulin looked troubled. "You're saying your species uses psychological distress to boost physical defense?" "To a point. Too much and we fall apart. But a little fear gets the blood pumping." Virulin turned to the orb, murmured an instruction, and the display shifted again, this time showing a timeline of Owen's vitals against his reported symptoms. "You experience joint pain, fatigue, congestion, thermal elevation." Virulin trailed off. "Then you slept and recovered. No medical input." "Look, I'm not trying to break your science," Owen said. "I just got unlucky with the timing and lucky with the outcome." Virulin stood still for a moment, then tapped the orb once more. The room lights dimmed slightly and a second alien entered, taller, with a crystalline ridge running from forehead to spine. It wore a darker coat and carried a small case. "This is Director Theras," Virulin said. "He oversees the Quarantine Ethics Division." Theras didn't speak right away. Instead, he opened the case and withdrew a small device shaped like a tuning fork. He held it toward Owen and nodded. "This will scan for residual viral markers. You may feel a tingling sensation." "All right," Owen said. Not the weirdest thing I've agreed to lately. A soft pulse moved through the air and Owen's skin prickled like static during a dry winter. The device flashed green. No active virus, Thera said. And no latent mutation signatures. That's unexpected. What, were you hoping I'd mutate into something dramatic? We anticipated post-viral instability. Human DNA is notoriously unstable under stress. Well, I'm a realist with decent hydration habits. Maybe that helped. Thera's turned to Virulin. We should reclassify the Earth rhinovirus and submit a revision to the infectious agent index. I've already begun the draft, Virulin said. But there's more. He shows no signs of cytokine overload. His immune system regulated itself. That's what it's supposed to do, Owen said. Or we'd all be walking around with fevers for weeks. Theras regarded him quietly. You understand more than we expected. I had a roommate in college who studied epidemiology. I picked up a few things between hangovers. Virulin's antennae twitched. Your species educates itself. Recreationally, sometimes we get curious. Sometimes the Wi-Fi goes out and we read books. Thera's closed the case. We'll need to present this to the Interstellar Health Coalition. They've already flagged Earth as a volatile biome. Don't let them near our vending machines, Owen said. You'll declare nougat a controlled substance. Neither alien responded. Theras waved a hand, and the orb floated over to Owen's side, blinking slowly. You'll be escorted to a containment review in 2 cycles, Virulin said. Until then, avoid contact with plant-based species. Your microbiome is still unpredictable. Got it. No hugging the salad bar. Later that evening at least, Owen assumed it was evening based on the dimming of corridor lights. He wandered into the observation deck. Floor-to-ceiling panels looked out over a glowing gas giant, its swirling clouds painting the room in soft gold. He stood there, arms crossed, as Virulin joined him with a small tablet. We've reviewed your dietary logs, Virulin said. You consume compounds we classify as non-nutritive. What is the purpose of cheese curls? Emotional support, Owen said. They taste like orange regret and make bad days slightly better. Virulin tapped his tablet. We've replicated the molecular structure. It violates 4 of our food safety codes. Then you're doing it right. Virulin considered that. Perhaps your species' strength is not simply immunity, but tolerance. You endure conditions that would dismantle most life forms. Or we're just too stubborn to die politely. There was silence for a while. The gas giant shifted, casting new shadows across the room. I've reviewed your sleep patterns, Virulin said at last. They're erratic, inconsistent. Yet your body recalibrates during each cycle. Yeah, Owen said. Sleep's like a reset button. Doesn't fix everything, but it helps. Virulin looked down at his tablet. We've been attempting to replicate your immune sequence in synthetic models. Nothing holds. Your system adapts too quickly. Maybe it's not something you can copy. Maybe it's something you have to live with long enough to get used to. Virulin didn't reply. Instead, he turned and walked away, tablet tucked under one arm. Owen remained at the window, watching the planet swirl in silence. Behind him, the orb pulsed once, faintly, then dimmed. The medical review chamber smelled faintly like boiled carrots and ozone. Owen sat on the examination platform, dangling his legs over the edge while a translucent barrier flickered quietly around him. Across from him, Virulin adjusted the settings on a console embedded into the wall, his antennae curling and uncurling with visible agitation. You're fidgeting, Owen said. That's usually my job. Virulin didn't look up. This platform isn't calibrated for your species' thermal signature. The insulation layer is fluctuating. I'm not cold, Owen said, but it does feel like I'm sitting on a damp trampoline. That's the heat sink compensating. It shouldn't be damp. Well, it is. Virulin tapped the console twice. The barrier lowered and a small tray extended from the wall, carrying a cup of dark blue gel and 3 oblong capsules. Consume these, he said. They will stabilize your endocrine readings. Owen took the tray, sniffed the cup, and raised an eyebrow. This smells like melted crayons. Flavor is irrelevant. That's easy for you to say. I have taste buds. You also have an adrenal response curve that spikes with no discernible trigger. Your vitals suggest elevated anxiety. I've been locked in a glowing room for 12 hours with nothing but blinking walls and a chair that keeps vibrating. Maybe that's the trigger. Virulin handed him a folded cloth. Sit on this. It's moisture resistant. Owen placed it under him and downed the capsules with a grimace. You ever tried swallowing pills that float? No, lucky you. Virulin turned to a new data stream that had begun scrolling across the upper half of the wall. The committee has completed its evaluation. They've ruled out biohazard classification. Is that good? You're no longer considered a mobile infection vector. Oh, so I'm just weird now. Statistically unique, Virulin corrected. I'll put that on a resume. The door behind them hissed open. An older Yelvathian with a longer spinal ridge and duller skin tone entered, wearing a high-collared robe stitched with medical insignias. This is Chief Examiner Toln, Virulin said. He will oversee the final review. Toln approached without expression, a small scanning disc hovering beside his shoulder. He stopped in front of Owen and tilted his head. You've consumed no immunoactive agents since the onset of symptoms? Nope, Owen said. Just a nap and a lot of water. You refused neural recalibration? I don't even know what that is. Toln turned to Virulin. His endocrine map contradicts the projected failure curve. I've run the analysis 6 times, Virulin said. His system exhibits adaptive compensation instead of cascade failure. Toln stepped back. Begin the stimulus trial. Virulin hesitated. It's not calibrated for human emotional thresholds. Begin it. Virulin tapped the wall. A section of the chamber dimmed and a panel slid open to reveal a translucent frame filled with swirling specks of light. The air shifted, carrying a low-frequency pulse that made Owen's teeth tingle. What's this? Owen asked. Simulated stress induction, Virulin said. Non-lethal. Define non-lethal. You may experience dizziness. The specks began to pulse in rhythmic waves and a low hum filled the chamber. Owen's heart rate picked up and he felt the base of his skull tighten. All right, Owen said, gripping the edge of the platform. This is unpleasant. That's expected, Toln said. Yeah, but why? We're observing your systemic resilience. You could have just asked me to do taxes. Same effect. The hum deepened. Owen's pupils dilated and his muscles tensed involuntarily. He forced himself to breathe slowly, mentally counting backward. After several minutes, the light frame dimmed and the hum ceased. The air settled again and Owen exhaled heavily. Well, he said, wiping his brow. That was deeply upsetting. Virulin approached with a new scan. Your cortisol spiked, then stabilized. Heart rate elevated, then returned to baseline in under 2 minutes. No arrhythmia. Toln narrowed his eyes. He self-regulated under artificial stress. Because I knew it wasn't real, Owen said. Once I figured that out, it felt like a really awful white noise machine. You applied cognitive override, Toln said. I applied common sense. You weren't exactly subtle. Virulin looked back at the display. Your neurological response is slower than expected, but more stable. Thanks, I think. Toln stepped closer. Humans possess voluntary control over emotional feedback loops? It's not a switch, Owen said. But yeah, we can talk ourselves down from a panic. That's biologically inefficient. Maybe, Owen said. But it works. Toln turned to Virulin. He's exhibiting no residual instability. His systems are within functional variance. Virulin nodded. Then the containment designation can be lifted. Immediately. Toln left without another word. The scanning disc followed him silently through the door. Virulin turned back to Owen. You're cleared to leave. Great, Owen said. Do I get a certificate or something? Just a transport voucher. He handed Owen a small hexagonal chip. Thanks, Owen said. Can I get some real food now? Virulin hesitated. Define real. Something hot. Preferably solid. No more gel cups. There's a nutrition kiosk on deck 3. It dispenses thermo-cooked protein spindles. Close enough. Virulin followed him to the corridor. The ship's internal lights had shifted to a soft blue, signaling low activity cycle. As they walked, Virulin kept glancing at his handheld scanner. "You're still monitoring me?" Owen asked. "I'm curious," Virulin said. "You maintained full physiological control during synthetic agitation. That's uncommon. We live in a world with traffic, deadlines, and people who talk at movies. You adapt." Virulin stopped at a junction. "You're not alarmed by the unpredictability of your own biology?" "Of course I am. But we work with what we've got." Humans improvise. Even with health? Especially with health. Virulin seemed to consider that for a long moment. "We treat deviation from equilibrium as failure. You treat it as challenge. That's what cold medicine commercials are built on." At Deck 3, the kiosk rotated open with a faint hiss, revealing rows of steaming trays. Owen selected something that looked vaguely like a meat kebab and sat at a nearby bench. Virulin stood beside him, silent. "You don't eat during this cycle?" Owen asked. "Our metabolism is dormant during low light phase." "Your loss," Owen said, biting into the spindle. "Tastes like chicken if chicken lived in a fish tank." Virulin observed him for several moments, then lowered his scanner. "We assumed your physiology was illogical." "And? It's not. It's just chaotic." "That's fair." Virulin turned to leave. "You've destabilized 3 medical doctrines." "Glad to help." Owen finished the meal, returned the tray, and followed the corridor toward the shuttle bay. The lights overhead began to brighten, signaling the start of a new rotation. As he passed the embarkation checkpoint, a junior Yelvathian officer saluted awkwardly. "Thank you for not dying," the officer said. Owen paused, then gave a lazy wave. "Anytime." The shuttle doors sealed behind him with a soft click, and the engines powered up. He leaned back in the seat, exhaled, and closed his eyes. "One nap," he thought, "and now I'm a medical case study." He chuckled once, then drifted off as the ship pulled away from the cruiser. The stars stretched out ahead, indifferent and infinite.